All right, welcome everybody. Welcome Governor Cooper. Thank you so much for being with us. It's a pleasure and an honor to be joined by you. And I also want to thank the 4 American Underground CEOs who are on with me. My name is Adam Klein. I'm the Chief Strategist of the American Underground. We're a startup hub in Durham, and truly honored to have our state's governor with us, Roy Cooper, who is running for his 2nd term right now. And Governor, I know that you are probably likely very busy with COVID response, and we know that you're busy. So we're grateful for your time, grateful for you being with us, and want to use this time to really talk a little bit about the economy, talk about entrepreneurship in particular with these 4 CEOs who, as the economic literature points out, these are going to be the people who are going to lead us out of this in many ways in terms of recovery and what new job creation looks like. And so we're appreciative of this time, and I'm going to introduce the 4 CEOs who are with us, and then Governor, I'll hand it over to you to offer a few opening remarks. So first off, Talib Graves-Mans from Knox Street Studios. Talib, thanks for being on. Aaron McKeithen of Novasi. Aaron, thank you. Jason Kaplane from Bull City Venture Partners. Jason, thanks. And Jessica Mitch of Momentum Learning. Jessica, good to have you here. Governor, a couple minutes if you'd like to just say a few words, and we'll let Jessica ask the first question.
Well, thank you, Adam. I won't spend much time opening because I look forward to engaging with these American Underground members. Have enjoyed physically being there in the past, and it's always an amazing exchange with the brilliant innovators and entrepreneurs that we have in the American Underground and across North Carolina. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'll say this, global pandemic was not on my checklist of challenges that I thought I was going to have to face as governor, but we are navigating uncharted waters, and I think we're doing it as well as we can considering the circumstances. And we know that through all of this, that the first thing we have to do is deal with this pandemic to make sure our economy is strong. And we're working to slow the spread and grow the economy at the same time, and they go hand in hand. And so I'm looking forward to the questions and the exchange. So thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you, Governor. All right, Jessica, first question.
Yes. Thank you, Governor Cooper, for being here. And I think all of us entrepreneurs can appreciate that we also did not sign up to have to battle a global pandemic while starting companies either. So we're all in this together for sure. My company, Momentum, trains career changers and career starters on technical skills in software and web development. We support our graduates on getting jobs, high demand jobs in the tech industry. And we have graduated 140 people in the Raleigh-Durham area. And 90% of our graduates are currently working in the tech industry, making salaries above $65,000 a year on average. So we're really proud of that success. And we have filled a critical role in the professional education gap here locally. And I'm really focused on making sure that we have skilled workers in the tech industry to support entrepreneurship, support growth, and really focus on what the future of jobs is going to look like and what the future industry is going to look like in our state. So my question for you is, I'm a proud graduate of the Wake County Public School System. I believe that North Carolina has done a great job over the years in education. And how do you see education looking as we set forward in the future and build an education system and reimagine the education system in North Carolina to fit the future of work?
Well, thanks for that, Jessica, and congratulations on that early success for your company. There's no question that education is the foundation of the future, and investment in education from cradle to career is critical. When I'm recruiting people to come to our state, there's no question in my mind that our universities are our shining star. They have a reputation worldwide, and we're proud of them, both public and private. We also, though, fill a role for diversity in that we have more four-year HBCUs than any other state in the country. And North Carolina A&T State University graduates more Black engineers than any other university in the country. So we know that companies are looking to diversify. And when I talk to CEOs, the number one thing they talk to me above anything else is the quality of the workforce. Do you have the good people who can fill the good paying jobs that I create? With our university system, we're very proud that and even with this legislature, we have continued to make a public investment. And for our public university system, we've always had this goal for having our universities be in the top quartile in quality for peer institutions around the country, and the bottom quartile in cost for peer institutions across the country. That means that the delta has got to be filled with state tax dollars, with innovation, with research money, with all of the things that these universities can do. We've set a bipartisan goal. We had business leaders, Republicans, Democrats, legislators. People came together and said, all right, we know a workforce is critical. So we want to make sure that 2 million more adult North Carolinians in the next 10 years has some type of post-secondary degree or credential so that we can fill these better paying jobs and can fill the jobs that are in high demand fields. One of the things that I have proposed that I've not been taken up on it yet by the General Assembly, and I'm hoping that we can do this next year, is my program called NC Grow. I truly believe that our community colleges can be a hub for the kinds of jobs that many companies and even startup companies need. We need to make sure we pay tuition and fees for people who are willing to get into high demand jobs. And we've got ways through the Unemployment Insurance Fund to fund this, but I'm excited about that and we need to do that. We've also set up a website with nccareers.org. It helps young people and job seekers to think about what they might want to do, find out about a job, how much would it pay for starting salary, how much could I expect to make, how much education do I need to be able to get this job, how much does that education cost. We hope that that platform will educate children earlier in life, as early as middle school. And I think also as we think about education, we've got to continue to keep this COVID fight at the forefront of our minds. We all want our schools to get back to normal. And I talk to so many parents who definitely want that. But we got to make sure that it is safe for students and teachers. And at every point in this process, I want to use science and data to make those decisions about carefully crafted school opening plans. My opponent in this race held a press conference and says we need to fill up all of our classrooms immediately with no masks and no safety plan. That's dangerous. I don't think we want to go there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Governor, for being here. Really appreciate the conversation. As a parent of 3, I appreciate the safety going into reopening schools. So I think that's super important, by the way. I know that's not the conversation here, but I appreciate you bringing that up and definitely respect that. As background, my partner and I manage a venture capital firm in Durham and have been investing in the North Carolina ecosystem and mostly early stage tech companies for the last 2 decades with strong success. My question is, I'd love to understand your top agenda going forward and what, as we talk to and engage with the startup community, what's your promise to deliver to them over the coming years?
First, I want you to know that we're going to fight off all of these divisive social issues that not only hurt people, but hurt our economy. When I was over at the American Underground in 2016, when I first ran for governor, I think a lot of people there who had not cared very much about government and politics became engaged because House Bill 2 was causing significant problems, attracting capital, attracting workers, attracting companies. So that's one of the first things that I want to let you know, that we're going to fight those things off and try to make sure that we concentrate on healthcare, education, and better paying jobs. Second, you know that every CEO should have a mission. Mine for North Carolina is to have a North Carolina where people are better educated, where they're healthier, where they have more money in their pockets and they have opportunities to live lives of purpose and abundance. What we have to do is close the healthcare coverage gap to make sure every North Carolinian can get healthcare. The second thing we have to do is to tout our workforce and to make sure that our workforce is the best trained that we possibly can. I've recruited specifically over 60,000 jobs as I've been governor. We've created a lot more than that, but you all are playing a key role. Our innovators and entrepreneurs are playing a role that is helping us grow our economy. Many of you know that I appointed the North Carolina Entrepreneurial Council. I've got Eric Wilson staffing it with me, and he came in here today. Adam is on it. Ronnie Chatterjee is also on it, who was, I think, talked to you guys last week, and he's running for state treasurer, an outstanding, brilliant young man who I think would do a wonderful job. Michael Goodman, of course, is heading it up. And creating the atmosphere for business is positive too. For example, Forbes has ranked North Carolina #1 in business 3 times in its 12 or 13 year history of ranking states for business atmosphere. 3 times were 2017, 2018, 2019, the 3 years that I've been governor of North Carolina. And I've been proud of that. We're going to keep working to provide finish line grants, workforce development, my NC Job Ready program. And I want my clean energy plan I'm excited about, our recruitment in the biotechnology and life sciences area. Bio just recognized me as their governor of the year. People in North Carolina won that award because we are really growing that sector. But I look forward to talking with you and others about how we increase venture capital in our state. I think we've got everything that we need. Glad that you are in this space, but we need more of it.
Yep. So I like that answer a lot. And I also appreciate your emphasis on investing in education in our state. As I think about it, there is definitely a shortage of talent as our companies struggle to hire here. So I think that's super important to start prepping for the future. If I can offer one recommendation as part of this too, is that, and I know there are a lot of burning issues on your plate right now, but when I talk to some of our companies, one thing that they would love to see is a stronger connection to government. So when they do need something to get done, they're less connected. And maybe it's the council that you built up with Adam, but some kind of stronger connection, some kind of hotline to resolve really important issues that they may encounter. So as an example of that, recently we had the curfew in Raleigh. So one of our companies is called Spoonflower. They ship out products. They run 3 shifts, so they operate 24/7. They didn't know if they could go to, send their workers in at night. And to resolve that, they had to work that through their lawyers, spending more money on their end to figure out how they could resolve that. It ended up getting resolved, obviously, as you know, but I think some kind of stronger connection to the government so that our companies have some kind of hotline in and can resolve key issues really fast would be really helpful.
That's a great suggestion. Thanks for that, Jason. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Talib.
Adam, thanks for having me, and Governor Cooper, thanks for hosting. So I run a nonprofit here in Durham called Knox Street Studios. We do a lot of work primarily with African-American entrepreneurs, and also been doing some work with Napoleon Wallace, who formerly worked with you. Really brilliant guy. So my question is really focused on Black business. So the data tells a story of 40% of Black-owned businesses that have or in the process of shutting their doors as a response to COVID-19. And I've witnessed 3 businesses that I frequent in Durham go out of business in the past few months. And this is affecting our ecosystem of families, services, legacy within the community. I wanted to get your thoughts on some of the solutions you think that could help stop the bleeding.
Thanks, Talib. And one thing that I know is that COVID-19 is shining a bright light on inequities that existed before. And for example, Black people make up about 22% of our state's population, yet 32% of COVID-19 deaths.
Yeah.
We know that this COVID-19 pandemic has hit communities of color and other underserved communities doubly hard. It's one of the reasons why I have created my task force on social, economic, environmental, and health inequities, the Andrea Harris Task Force. They are busy at work. I want to connect you to that because they're going to come forward with real proposals that we think can help in this arena, because we know that Black-owned businesses face systemic racism. They face issues with access to capital, and this is even without a pandemic. So we know things are very difficult right now. We have launched a grant program already at our Department of Administration. We call it Retool Nc, and it is to help historically underutilized businesses and disadvantaged business enterprise firms that have been impacted by COVID-19, and we want to help to provide those grants. We've also had initiated a program even before the pandemic hit on getting state government contracts to more historically underutilized businesses. Yeah. And this is important for a number of reasons. One, a lot of businesses have been shut out, whether it is through racism, whether it is through the old buddy-buddy system, whether it is through not knowing how to navigate the channels that you have to go through in order to get state contracts. But our hub office is working right now with a number of these businesses, helping them to get in line and figure out how to compete for these state contracts. And the way I look at that is, number one, we need to help these businesses, but number two, it's better for the taxpayer, because if you create more competition, you create more firms out there who can do the work and who understand the bidding process in state government, then everybody is better off. So we're going to keep working for that. A couple of other things that are going on at Commerce right now, specifically related to the pandemic: the Mortgage Utility and Rent Relief Program and Job Retention Grant Program to help employers get relief is opening up now. In addition, we are continuing to help through our hub office people to access those grant funds. So we've got a lot of work to do in that arena, but thank you for bringing this question to light, and I want you to know that we are all over it. You have to recognize that it's a problem. You have to cite what you need to do to fix it. And it's hard breaking through a lot of this, and a lot of hard conversations have to be had. But this is so important for all of us, and for a state that knows that diversity is a strength, knows that the bottom line is better when you are diverse, because you get different ideas and you have more broad-based ideas, and you're better off at the end of the day. So thanks, Talib. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I look forward to connecting with the people.
Thanks.
Thanks, Talib. Over to you, Aaron.
Governor, thank you for taking the time. It's a pleasure. I have a COVID question. My company, Novisci, is a startup here comprised of epidemiologists and statisticians from Duke and UNC and elsewhere, trying to harness the intellectual capital of the universities to make a practical difference in health outcomes. So many of the articles that get written by academics at UNC and Duke don't get read, don't get used, don't get applied. And so we've built software to help make it faster and easier for results to be translated to people who can make a difference with that information at Medicaid or at Blue Cross Blue Shield or other companies. And so we think about science and scientific knowledge a lot. With respect to COVID, my question is really just to have you sort of take a walk down memory lane over the last few months of how we've gone from none of us knowing much at all about COVID-19 to some emerging evidence that helps you make decisions about whether to open or not open and how quickly to open. And every week there's new knowledge from around the world, new information about the transmission of the virus among children or the elderly, et cetera. How have, in the political arena, can you just reflect a little bit about how you've learned about this yourself? Like, you accumulated this sort of knowledge from your advisors, Secretary Cohen and others, but then how do you bring along a whole state when the knowledge base is incomplete at the beginning of this epidemic, to say the least, and now we're learning a lot? How do you translate that into policy? I've admired the way you've juggled uncertainty, yet the need to make decisions at the same time with incomplete information. So if you could just speak to that a little bit, that'd be really helpful for us to get a feel for how you've made those decisions over the last few months.
Well, thanks a lot, Aaron. And you know, your life has changed when you're propped up in bed about midnight reading epidemiology studies. I think you're absolutely right, and I'm delighted what your company is doing, because you're talking about using the brains that we have in our great state, and our universities are a bright spot for that. And we've worked hard to leverage that because we know it's important. We also know that we are navigating uncharted waters. We also know that it is important to take what we learn every single day and to apply it to decisions going forward, because we are continuing to learn more and more about this virus and what we can do to slow the spread. It's frustrating when a number of politicians want to use the mask requirement as a political tool, want to spread misinformation and outright lies about the virus, who want to tell people that you don't have anything to worry about and it's okay to go to mass gatherings and you don't need to wear your mask and you don't need to social distance. That is probably the most frustrating part of this, because we know we can slow the spread if we do what works. And you've heard us time and time again to talk about 3 W's. That's what we've got to do. But I'm hoping that once we get past this election, that whether you're wearing a mask or not won't be a campaign button, and we can concentrate more on the real things we need to do for health and safety. I've learned that inspiring people can help us come together, and I've learned that North Carolinians can weather almost any storm. We've had to weather traditional storms, and now we have to weather a biological one, but we can do it. I've learned that we got to get high-speed internet access to every single part of North Carolina, not only because of the remote learning of our students that needs to occur, but telemedicine, which has absolutely exploded, and making sure that small businesses and startups and others have access to global markets and what they need. I've learned that we have to make sure that we are relying on the science and the data to make decisions. We're being informed by businesses because we need to help them. We tell them what works. Most of them want to comply with the law. I've had a number of conversations with them about masks and how don't listen to the minority of very loud people. It's not going to hurt your business if you're insisting on people wearing masks coming into your stores. In fact, it's going to increase your bottom line, because most of the people in this state, in this country, want to go to a retail establishment that is safe, that is protecting its customers, and that is protecting its employees.
Thank you. If I have just a second for a follow-up, I just appreciate that very much. In terms of getting past the election, I appreciated those comments about let's move the politics aside and get into recovery, what recovery really looks like. My sense is that the recovery will be felt unevenly. Those who've been harmed by the economic effects, we have an unequal society. I'll give you an illustration very briefly. We have, as you know, we have about 11,000 foster children in North Carolina. My wife and I are foster parents. And the number one way that the state and the counties learn about abuse and neglect of foster children is through public school teachers who see them you know, in the first month of school. We see a spike every year, and abuse and neglect, you know, sort of diagnoses that result in kids coming into the foster system. So one of the repercussions, as you know, of the school closure is that we're not seeing a lot of that abuse and neglect. And as we think about reopening, that the harm caused by the what the Bible calls the least of these, you know, will be really felt for a long time. And so I wonder if you have, I know you don't have a lot of time now, but any comments on sort of the post-election, how do we concentrate the recovery on those who are most affected? Foster kids as an example, other types of populations that have been really hit hard by both COVID directly, but also the economic fallout and school closures and all that.
Thank you for being foster parents. My wife is an attorney and a volunteer guardian ad litem, and it's one of the reasons why I'm working so hard to get our children safely back to in-person learning. It is a #1 priority, and that's one of the main reasons. With the number of child abuse reports going down, we know they're going up, and children just aren't in school because school is a nexus. We've got to get people safely in, and we've got to tackle this next wave of problems that have been created by the pandemic. We also know that different industries have been hit unequally. Many industries and businesses are finding opportunity in crisis and are doing better because they're responding to it. But other industries like the leisure industry and the restaurants and the bars and the hotels and the travel industry, they're just getting killed. So we're going to have to gauge our response and try to deal with the inequities that have been created by this pandemic. And I really appreciate your point and agree with you 100%.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you, Governor. I'll go ahead and close this out. I know we're up against time, and Governor, if you'd like to have a few final words, that'd be great. But thank you to all of you for joining American Underground CEOs. And Governor, we appreciate your leadership very much and you taking the time to be with us today.
I would tell everybody, vote, please vote. You can register up until October the 9th. That's coming in on us. You can also start voting in person on October the 15th. Go to the State Board of Elections and find out how you do that. You can also vote absentee by mail. You can go online and request your absentee ballot. Make sure you fill it out right. It requires a witness and a signature, but you can mail that in or you can take it by your Board of Elections. This is the most important election of our lifetime. And I don't think any of us want to wake up on November 4th thinking that we could have done more, or especially not having voting and have your voice heard. Thank you guys for this. I look forward to continuing interactions with you. Get out there and create lots of jobs for our state, lots of income for everyday families in North Carolina. And thank you very much for all you're doing.
Thank you, Governor.
Very much.